advantage of the opportunity. But right now is about right now.
The plan B, Ohio State Buckeyes!
Give everything you got in your heart to this place.
Hello and welcome back to Rushing the Field. He's Joshua Perry. I'm Nicole Auerbach. This is Rushing the Field presented by Xfinity. And Joshua, you know what they said? They said this was going to be a quiet weekend of college football. Oh, the schedule didn't look as exciting as week one. You know what always happens when people say that?
It's exciting.
Yeah, and we get a top
upsets.
15 upset.
We should have known better. We should have never let the people who told us it wasn't going to be exciting tell us.
For the record, we do not. We actually thought that this was like a pretty good slate for not even the sickos, like just college football fans, because there were a lot of like evenly matched teams
Crossovers.
and interesting games.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
And you even had West Virginia go to Ohio and then lose.
Insane.
Yes.
They should never do that.
We should have picked that as our Rushing the Field upset
There are
pick.
a couple that I'm thinking I should have picked, but neither here nor there.
All right, well, let's start to one that we I don't think anyone really saw it coming, but
No.
maybe we should have known. USF going to Gainesville, going to the Swamp, beating Florida 18-16 final. What I want to start here, first of all, like just a true shocker, and the fact that Florida couldn't move the ball. But let's go through the final drives, right? So Florida has the lead.
Yes.
Under 3 minutes to go.
Yes.
They go 3 and out and waste 10 seconds off the clock.
Which is an insane thing to even hear. And there was an injury in there?
Yes.
And so that was part of it, but the idea
2 incomplete passes.
that you can go 2 incomplete passes in that situation is like a no-go from a game management standpoint.
Okay, so then what happens?
Well, and then you have all of the issues with Florida. You have a penalty and unsportsmanlike,
the spit,
which is insane. We could talk about the spit separately, I guess, maybe during the week, because we don't have a ton of time here, but that should never happen. Then right after that, you get an explosive play. Right, and then that puts USF right into kicking position, and they're at that point saying we're just going to run the clock down. If we score a touchdown, that'd be great, but we know that we can make this field goal.
Right, and then they almost did.
Yes.
They almost ran it in.
No,
almost
literally
scored.
almost did.
So this was a true stunner. Now this is a USF team though that did beat Boise State really handily in week one.
Right.
So right now they're definitely in the driver's seat for the college football playoff because Boise State last year did not have neither a win of this caliber. So they have 2. They've got Miami next week, which is suddenly a really interesting game. So it's huge for them and Alex Golish in year 3 and what they're building for USF. But honestly, really disappointing for Florida. DJ Lagway's supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I know the schedule is brutal, but USF wasn't supposed to be the part of the schedule that was brutal.
No, when they got to conference play, we were going to be like, all right.
You want me to read it to you?
Please do.
Okay. Next week at LSU, then at Miami. So again, not conference, but still. Texas, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia.
So we were going to get to that part of the season and be like, well, you know, like the schedule is what it is. Are they showing signs of improvement? Does DJ Lagway look good? Like that's how we were going to judge them. But after seeing this, it's like, no, you have to prove that you can actually win those games since you can't even beat a team like USF. But getting back to what happened with Florida, the idea that they were outgained is insane to me because it means their defense didn't play all that well. But that is an offense that is built to be very explosive, right? The reason that Billy Napier is around right now is because of what we saw out of DJ Lagway. This year, we had high expectations that he would be able to make the explosive play. And if it wasn't there in the pass game, he could pull it down and run it with ease. And that just wasn't on display.
Yeah. And again, you're supposed to have a talent advantage at almost every position when you're playing a group of 6 team, even a good one, right? Even out of the American.
No doubt.
So we'll get back to that a little bit later because we're going to give some helmet stickers later in today's show, as we're going to do every Saturday night here on Rushing the Field. Couple other big headlines from week 2. Listen, I know this game wasn't close, but we have to talk about what happened with Oregon and Oklahoma State.
Yeah, we sure do.
Because there was a war of words all week. We talked about it during the week. Mike Gundy really poking the bear on, they spend and they're going to have to spend all this money to keep Dante Moore. Maybe they should play teams that have the same budgets that they do. And listen, I picked them to cover 28.5 points because I thought Dan Lanning was going to be pissed. I didn't think they were going to cover by halftime, but they did. And you just had like the sad field goal from Oklahoma State early.
Which bothers me, by the way.
That was you were really giving up early.
Score a touchdown. Yeah, that's giving up. Like, we don't want to get shut out, whatever.
It was 3 plays, it's 14-0.
Yes.
631 total yards of offense for Oregon. It was a pick your point total kind of game.
I thought it was going to be 700 yards, and we were watching, sitting there at halftime.
They took the step, the foot off the brake. or gas pedal.
Which I
Different
get,
saying?
but I
Gas
would have pedal to the floor.
Okay, so I want to read you this great quote afterwards, okay? Dante Moore, quarterback for Oregon. Quote, "When you attack our head coach, it's like you're attacking my dad. You're attacking a family member. For him to attack Phil Knight, Oregon, Nike, and attack Coach Lanning and attack the team was personal. We were going to keep the foot on the neck and make sure we score these points and try to break the scoreboard."
I'm here for this for a couple of reasons.
I loved it too. I love it.
Number one, this whole they spend more money. Like, sorry, dude.
It's legal.
Yeah, and that's like it's just such a weak way to complain about things. But I love the fact that these players believe in their coach that much and they want to go to bat. And the fact that he came out after the game and said it, and it wasn't Dan Lanning sitting up there and saying, "Oh, well, I felt disrespected, so my guys backed me up." Like, that would be really corny too. But again, this team is like edgy, and we talked about it all last year. They do things with a different edge and sense of urgency than a lot of other programs, and I think it is very refreshing to see.
Yeah, plus the physicality and the athleticism at all these positions. Huge win for them. We talked a lot about like some of the Big Ten teams that had opportunities to make statements against the Big 12, the ACC. There were a lot of like really interesting crossover games. One of those was Duke and Illinois. It was a really entertaining game for most of it until Illinois pulled away late because there were 5 Duke turnovers. It was the kind of game where I think if you're Duke, you like don't want to watch the tape because there were the turnovers. There was like when wearing 2 of the same jersey on the special teams, which led to another Illinois score. Luke Altmaier, though, was really good by the end of the day.
Yes.
Hank Beatty was really, really good. He had, he's becoming the go-to target for sure in the pass game.
Yes.
But he also had a rushing touchdown. So I really feel like it was a statement for them of like this was the first thing that they had to do on their path to like maybe making the college football playoff, and they passed with flying colors.
Yeah, and this is the type of game last year for Illinois where it would have been close until the end, and they probably would have needed a 2-minute drive. They just couldn't find ways to open these games up. And then you go out in the second half, they outscored Duke 31-6, and then they had 128 rushing yards, 3 takeaways in the second half. The run game wasn't very good in the first half. They weren't really protecting Altmaier in the first half. So this is like the culmination of we've matured as a team because we're pulling away, but we also made the necessary adjustments to fix the things that didn't work early on in the game, and that's Brett Bielema. That's his fingerprints all over that program.
Yeah, it's a really good point because Luke Altmaier like leads the nation in game-winning drives or game-tying drives. They didn't need it. They were nowhere near that by the end of this game. But there was a game that was really, really crazy, went back and forth, and Bo Pribula had himself a day. So Missouri comes back to beat Kansas in the border showdown, which like there was a lot of hate in this game, including like a fan who was trying to kick a field goal or would have won $25,000 to kick a field goal.
Still haven't seen the clip.
Well, he did not do that. He used it to make a point about Kansas. So it was their best comeback win in a decade, and they trailed 4 different times in this game by at least 10 points.
Insane.
Which is wild. It's a Missouri team that felt disrespected coming into the year. Like they thought they should have been ranked in the preseason top 25. The schedule looks pretty good, I think, for them for a path to at least maybe not contending in the SEC, but maybe CFP argument. But Bo Pribula, I think, was one of the takeaways from this game too, outside of just the fight.
Sure. I mean, Bo Pribula is a guy who left Penn State because Drew Aller's sitting right there.
Yep.
And I think when we saw that, all of us knew that he was going to be a good player for someone else. And so you go out there, 30 for 39, 334 yards and 3 touchdowns, like super explosive stat line there. But again, a guy who's responding, your team is down, but you never quit. You continue to fight, and that's a huge deal.
Another team that did that, Baylor.
Yeah, I love it.
This was a wild game. They outlast TCU in overtime. They were down periodically throughout this game. Sawyer Robertson finishes with 440 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 different receivers over 140 receiving yards. Yeah. This is Dave Aranda, who comes into the season on the hot seat. They have that tough loss to Auburn in week 1, and then they gut this one out. And I just feel like it was such a big win for Aranda, but also for Baylor. And they have really talented players on this team. They could win the Big 12 if it, goes well.
That was the thing for me after watching them lose to Auburn in week 1. I'm still sitting there and I'm like, that offense is so dangerous. I mean, you mentioned Sawyer Robertson's numbers, but, Ashton Hawkins, Josh Cameron, Kobe Prentice, all those guys really fast in a straight line, very explosive, can score from any place on the football field. And that's what you felt with them today. They got down in that game. And it's just like, it's never out of reach because those guys are too explosive.
No, because they figured out, they said they buy players now.
Yeah.
They spent what they needed to have dudes this year.
Gotta do it.
Paying off a little bit early. We'll get to Michigan, Oklahoma, which is in progress. So we'll get to that a little bit later in today's show. But next, let's talk about responses.
Let's do it.
So one of the best parts about week one is that we always overreact to things.
Love it.
And we actually still don't know which game will be the one that we were all totally wrong about. But the opportunity for week two is to respond to what you showed us a week ago. So there were a lot of teams that we were really interested to see what they did, either after a big loss, a big win. Let's start with Arch Manning, because he's the most scrutinized player in all of college football this year. We just spent a week of talking about how not ready he was for the moment against Ohio State. That Steve Sarkisian really couldn't open up his playbook with him. And he comes out and had kind of a get-right game, right? There's things to critique. We'll get there in a second.
For sure.
But 4 touchdown passes, rush for another. But really just it felt, I don't know, there was a moment where he kind of let out this catharsis on the sideline.
There was a lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion.
Yes, there was.
So I feel good for the kid because, you know he's going to get better, but he had a rough week. And this is what you're supposed to do against San Jose State. This could have been your opener, but instead you were in Columbus. It was really, really tough against Matt Patricia's defense. And finally, Arch Manning can exhale and sleep well.
Well, and he deserves that opportunity. I couldn't imagine walking around with the pressure that he probably feels. And I said it last week, you got to find a way to turn it off. There's really not a way to.
No.
You're going to hear all of these different things, and your teammates are probably talking about him. So anyway, good for him to be able to rebound. But the start of that game was even still shaky. We're sitting in the game screening room, and I'm like,
most of the first quarter.
Yeah, I'm like, man, it probably feels a little bit tense in that stadium. It's got to be weird. And then all of a sudden, Sark starts dialing up these creative plays. And I think that's a big part of Arch's progression as a quarterback is having the opportunity to take the shots. But he had them. They were wide open. He completed them. Ball might not have been the prettiest ball in the world. We'll talk about that in a sec. But the idea of getting back to a place mentally where you say, I can own this game.
Yes.
This game is what I'm built to do. You saw that today out of Arch.
I agree. And so, a couple of the passes were thrown a little bit behind guys, but they were schemed open, right?
Sure.
It worked. And last week we saw him completely whiff or bounce the ball in some of these open receivers. So this was still a huge improvement.
No, it certainly is. And again, I keep going back to this idea that every week we see him, he's going to be better than the week before. This version of him today is the second worst version we'll see all year, in my opinion. Right? And so as long as he continues to take those steps. Now, what he needs to do is maybe be a little bit more accurate, right? You don't want your receivers twisting and turning to try to catch the ball. Got to figure out a way to fix some of the mechanics. Talk about the arm slot. The ball's wobbling in the air. It's not a tight spiral. Wide receivers love to complain about that.
Yeah, but the arm angle is the part that it just looks off. And I don't think he threw like that last year.
I don't know.
We need to look this up.
Well, we got to see if he's got 2 uncles he should be working with. But if he's working with one of those guru guys, that they mess kids up
or just
all
trying
the
to be
time.
like Patrick Mahomes or something
Don't
on
do
the scramble.
that.
But footwork and the arm angle, I think, can obviously improve for
Yes.
him. And it can look easier.
Right.
And the spiral will come. So I think we are going to continue to see him get better. I've been saying they have Florida in a month. Well, maybe now that game is not as scary as
Florida has Texas in a month. How about that?
Yeah, maybe we should rephrase that one. Okay, let's talk about another response. The story of week one was Alabama and their shocking loss to Florida State. So Alabama, we're not done with this game, but I think we can safely chalk it up to a W.
It's 42-0 as the third quarter started.
At halftime.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, Ty Simpson, I don't know if he's going to play anymore. Probably not. Perfect, 17 of 17 for 226 yards, 3 touchdowns. This was what they needed to do, right? This is just, okay, we've heard everything for the last week.
Right.
And we just kind of need to make it a no-doubter.
That's 100% the mentality there. And there were certain things that needed to show up. And I'll start with the defense. For me, that needed to show up differently than what we saw. They only allowed 43 yards in the first half of that game, which is confirmation that these players can be who we think they are. They're flying to the football.
They were always talented, right?
Yes, but they're finishing plays.
Yeah.
They're getting the line, right? They're owning the line of scrimmage, which I think is big. Now, the one criticism I would have is I don't think they're just running it at will. And maybe this is a function of what they want their offense to be. But I think in a game like this, instead of having your quarterback go 17 for 17, you say that you're going to run it for 200 yards in the first half because that's what Alabama football is supposed to look like.
Well, and that's that's imposing your will
Yes.
and physicality, all the stuff that like we've been talking about for the last week. From an effort standpoint,
Right.
though, that was a big improvement.
No, 100%. Like, they look different, and they've got to replicate it against better teams. Nobody likes a front runner that likes to beat up on teams who can't compete. But the effort certainly needed to be much better, and it looks like it through the first half of that game.
All right, so how about one that was dicey for a while?
Yeah.
Clemson?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had the weather issue delay that kind of messed things up too, but Troy was all over Clemson early. They pulled away late, so they won 27-16. If you didn't watch the game, you're like, okay, Clemson got right as well. But it wasn't easy. I don't know what to make of Clemson.
I think Dabo might have been onto something when he was grading the game. Had
Last week?
58 and they had a 63. So I'm watching LSU right now. It's 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. 17-0 is about to be the score against Louisiana Tech. And this is one of those name your score type of games. So it's not like LSU is out here just like completely cooking a team that they should be. And Clemson looked terrible for a half of a game that they should have been dominant in. And so we talked about week one overreactions. Maybe we put a little bit too much stock into the performance out of either one of those teams in week one, because the week two bounce back for both of them is looking kind of just regular.
Yeah, and you know, to your point about like what you're supposed to be able to do against an overmatched team, Clemson averaged 3.9 yards per carry against Troy.
Right.
That's not great.
And so everybody was saying, oh, LSU's defense is so much better. They dominated the line of scrimmage. Clemson couldn't run. Well, maybe Clemson just can't run.
That's a very good point. So they're going to be kind of on our response reaction list again, because I think we need to see them right the ship, I guess. I mean, that was a team I picked to win the college football playoff.
I put them in
the preseason.
in the final. So.
All right,
Yes.
North Carolina had a really rough loss.
Yep.
We've spent a lot of time on this. Bill Belichick's collegiate debut. This one's not over, but we're right around the end of the third quarter. They're up 17-3 against Charlotte at Charlotte. So tricky environment. You know, going on the road against the groups. 10 and a half, something like that.
So I mean,
this was my underdog pick. I should have picked Ohio.
So the one that my gut told me to pick, and I went with my brain, I should have picked Mississippi State.
Oh, I know. After they were talking about cowbells and small town stuff. Yeah. And just to timestamp that one, they're up big on Arizona State, which I think we both picked to win the Big 12. So there's a lot of like moving pieces happening.
We don't know anything.
But we have to do that this time of year because you don't get that many crossover games. So you have to set narratives or figure out how you feel about these different conferences.
No doubt.
And it's like been a weird season for the SEC. Like you take that Florida loss and you couple it with 2 top 10 losses, right? You said LSU, that was the big, you know, that saved them last week.
Right.
But you know, you have to kind of react to these things as you have them because you're not going to get that much more down the road. One more I want to get your thoughts on is Penn State.
Yes.
They, again, final score looks fine.
Right.
We saw this out of them last year, though. Like, it took them a lot of the game to get going. Like, they were definitely sluggish.
Oh, super sluggish. And for me, the craziness was that we talked about their offseason and how they addressed one of the biggest positions of need that probably any contender had in college football, and that was their wide receiver room. And then you go out there and Drew Aller, who maybe there needs to be more of a conversation about what his top end is or how he operates within that offense. He goes 19 for 33, so that's 58%. You want your quarterback to be at least 60% in like a matchup game. In one of these games, probably 70, 75%. Only 200 yards. He had 2 touchdowns, 6 yards per attempt. That's not a big enough number. That, to me, indicates an offense that is not that explosive. And that, I think, is the trouble for me when I'm watching Penn State right now. I thought they would look much more explosive than they did today.
Well, and that's like, okay, so you bring everybody back, right? So you're like, all right, Drew Aller, we saw highs, we saw some lows, we saw some bad decisions. Like the lasting image of the way their season ended against Notre Dame comes to mind. But you've got these 2 great running backs. Mm-hmm. They should be explosive as well. Yes. Like, it just should be easier, even if you are breaking in new receivers and figuring that out. So they're going to have to do this pretty soon because they've got Oregon at the end of the month. And Oregon looks really good right now.
Oregon, it's also that thing that Dan Lanning said that you and I talk about every time we talk about him. But the dude's a sicko, and he has not forgotten what that feeling was when he left the Rose Bowl. And Penn State's going to be his first opportunity to really say, we're in this thing to win it.
It might have been today, though, against Oklahoma State.
Well, I know, but Oklahoma State is not a team that anybody's picking. Like,
I agree,
that Penn State game, if he could put up 45 on Penn State,
I agree, but I think he felt good. Like, I think he's going to sleep well after
He's
beating
going to sleep
Oklahoma
well,
State.
but he's still got that little burn in that passion.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Also, Florida State going to sleep well, 77-3 over East Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So in terms of response after a big win, they're just taking care of business.
I said it. They look confident.
They
today,
do.
right?
And
Like,
Tommy Castellanos wants to be in the Heisman race.
Yes, I love it for him.
He
I really
definitely has some swag.
Yeah.
More to come because Joshua and I are giving out helmet stickers this year. We'll be right back with that. Going to couch this as we do on Saturday nights that there is still the game ongoing, but right now Oklahoma leads Michigan 14-7. I feel like your main takeaway, which you've said as we've been watching this game nonstop, is just how physical it is.
Yeah. It looks like it hurts out there. I mean, both of these teams are flying around, and this is both the defenses wanting to punish runners, and this is the offense trying to establish their dominance as well. So you're getting good collisions here. Michigan was able to rip off a big run. It was my criticism of the first half. Just the offense wasn't really doing a ton. And then both of the quarterbacks have had some moments. Certainly Underwood looks young. Mateer is a guy that we love, but is susceptible to some mistakes. He's used his legs in this game. But this is one of those battles that has been exciting to watch because it feels like throwback football in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and like to your point about Bryce Underwood, I mean, I think we saw how comfortable he was in week 1 against New Mexico, but this still is his second career start.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the road at Oklahoma. They haven't really asked him to do a ton yet, again, to this point. We're in the third quarter.
Well,
but he's under 100 pass yards. And who's he throwing it to, right?
Not Marlon Klein.
Right, no Marlon Klein. So he had a wrap on his right ankle before the game, looked very ginger in the warm-ups. He was questionable coming in.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of a safety blanket.
100%. A lot of targets went to him in week 1.
Right, and so I think without that, you're seeing a lot of questions about like, okay, well, who are they comfortable throwing the ball to?
Yep.
And maybe they should rely on the run, because even when the run wasn't doing a ton, they were running the ball a lot in the first half.
Yeah, so this is what they pivoted to was Justice Haynes has the most catches for them, 3 receptions. He's got negative yardage, which is insane off of that. Then McCulley's got 1, Goodwin's got 1, and then Samaj Morgan's got 1 as well. And some of these have gone for pretty big hits. They've schemed very well for Underwood, but it's still not a consistent pass game because those guys can't get open on their own.
Right, and it's nowhere near what we saw last year where they really were one-dimensional because they could not throw the ball. Yeah. They will be able to, but you can see the hesitation against Oklahoma. And again, Brent Venables is calling the defense.
Exactly. I don't think either one of these offensive play callers want to take too many risks against the defenses that they're seeing.
Right, I think that's fair. We will wrap up our conversation on this game in our midweek pod. Once we see how it actually shakes out, we'll do the same with some of the other late Saturday night results. Joshua, though, we are going to make our picks for helmet stickers. We're going to start doing this on Saturday nights to shout out an individual player or coach in their performance. So we're going to base it on the results that have already wrapped up. Why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dave Aranda, Baylor head coach. And for me, we talked about the performance of Baylor today with all the athletes that they have out there, Sawyer Robertson and how he performed. But for me, it was the story of this game because you're coming off of a loss against a really good, a good opponent to have in week 1. Then you get down in a game. You have to come back against a team that's dangerous as well. And they get all the way back, make it into overtime, and then do the things that winning teams do in terms of special teams, in terms of managing the overtime situation. I think this was big for him. I think he needed to win this game to feel good.
I mean, he'd be
0-2
and
be a tough spot for him.
On the hot
seat would be really hot, and I think this cools it down just a bit.
Agreed. By the way, did you just see Arizona State trying to come back a little bit against Mississippi State? So again, we'll hit that on the midweek pod. My helmet sticker is going to Alex Golish at USF. Okay, so he takes that job after being the OC at Tennessee. They go 7-6, 7-6, solid.
Right.
But now they're in the driver's seat to make the college football playoff, which is a wild thing to say in week 2, but you know how it is for the group of 6 spot. We're already pretty much always going to be arguing between like the Mountain West champ, well, they'll be in the Pac-12 next year, but like Boise State situation, and then like the champion in the American.
Right.
So, you know, there's Tulane out there. Tulane's good.
Yes.
But USF now has a win over Boise State, so you've got like a head-to-head win over the Mountain West, and you have this massive win at Florida. Like Boise State didn't have anything comparable to this this time last year. Their best non-conference moment was nearly beating Oregon.
Right. I'm thinking like Tulane's only thing would be if they could go out and beat Ole Miss, right? Like that would be the thing, because then you'd have the 2 P4 wins, but
It's
Boise
but the
State
Boise
probably
win.
feels like a better win than the one over Northwestern, right?
I mean, and it's like so lopsided,
Yeah.
and like that could be the team that you're comparing against,
No
right?
doubt.
The head-to-head result there. So I just feel really, really good about their positioning. I think the American must feel really, really good about getting that spot right now
For
because
sure.
again, this is all relative. You don't have that many data points of crossover, and you have it in this situation. So I think that's going to be absolutely one of the stories coming out of week 2. We will have plenty more in our midweek pod, but that'll do it for Saturday night. He's Joshua Perry. I'm Nicole Auerbach. Thank you for listening to Rushing the Field, presented by Xfinity, and we'll see you during the week.